welcome, Christian Men Unscripted. I'm here with John Harney. I'm Alan Underwood. Seth is hard man to get a hold of, so he's not here today.
Missing as always.
But we have a special guest today, and I'm honored to have him on. It's crazy. I'm going to read his bio. I don't normally read his bio because we're unscripted, but I need to because I want to get it right. And also, forgive me because I'm reading it, and I'm not good at reading the English language.
He's like, me go to school for me to learn, so I may have to correct his English, but let's go.
Yeah, we're from Las Vegas. I have a Las Vegas education.
Bad education.
Okay, our guest today is Howard Quiggly Chang. He's the creator of Ancientz, a bold new universe where spirit-fueled robots battle darkness, and one of the original creators behind the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles toy phenomenon, which is from my generation and John's. As the lead toy concept artist at Varner Studios, Quiggly spent nearly a decade designing some of the most iconic TMNT action figures in the late 80s and 90s, leaving an unforgettable mark on pop culture. See, I told you.
It's pop. That's actually the most simple word in the whole thing. It's 3 letters, dude.
But Quiggly's story doesn't end there. After stepping away from the from the toy world, he built a thriving career in manufacturing and marketing consulting, becoming a successful businessman. Then, about 10 years ago, in the midst of personal struggles, he experienced a life-changing spiritual awakening that led him back to his roots in art and storytelling with a new sense of purpose. The results is Ancientz, a faith-fueled franchise that combines raw imagination, biblical inspiration, and street-level grit. Quiggly's mission to create a new kind of hero rooted in truth, spirit, and courage for the next generation. Thank you for joining us. I'm sorry I messed that up a little bit.
That was a C- at best.
That's the kind of stuff it was, man. Nice.
Name is called Pop Fiction.
Hey, thanks for bearing with me, everybody, on that one.
No, hey, very genuinely, Howard, do you go by Quiggly? Is that kind of why everything we see, it kind of has the quote unquote Quiggly? What do you go by?
I mean, it's a little different. I think people remember it. I mean, that was a nickname I had when I was 18 years old, when I was trying to quit that first job I had because it was just a summer job and I was supposed to go off to college, right? So,
Yeah.
Howard, you're fired didn't sound good to my bosses. They came out this name. They got the name from the Jetsons. I don't know if you remember that.
I do remember that.
Of course.
It's stuck ever since. It's been 30 some years, and only within the TMNT community, and I have my day job when I'm doing business, marketing, and all that. Nobody knows me as Quiggly, but only in the art field.
Oh,
Okay.
man. Okay, I love it. So can we call you Quiggly then, since we're talking about art stuff?
Yeah, let's do it.
That's awesome. We'll get into the Ancientz here, but I want to talk about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was a big action figure guy. I had some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That was great. But I love robots is what we'll get to that because this is kind of where we're going with it. But I was a big fan of Voltron, what is the other one? Transformers, and then Robotech. And when I was
GoBots.
GoBots. And this is kind of like what this reminds me of, and we're going to definitely get into it. But how did you get started with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
It was a fluke summer job. I mean, I had a job lined up somewhere else at Blockbuster. I don't know if you remember that.
I
But
love Blockbuster.
then my mom found a newspaper ad for me to go in and try to be a sculptor. I never sculpted anything in my life, but I went in. They liked me, and they hired me on the spot and to do mold making. And one day, Playmates Toys. They were the studio sculpting and designing a lot of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. My old boss, Steve Varner, he sculpted the pitch turtle the way it's supposed to look as a toy. Because it was a
Yeah.
comic book by Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman from
Yep.
Maine. They sold about 60,000 copies or so. But I mean, if you think about it, no one really heard of it in the West Coast or anything like that.
Mhm.
So it was just a job. What are this? What are these turtles? Okay, cool. I mean, I gotta make mashups of them. When I was doing, it, I was only 18, right? But I didn't know decades later, those were some iconic collectible toys that I was designing. And then I would meet fans at events. There was an event right by where I live in Torrance in 2010 or 11. It was a Comic-Con, but specifically for He-Man, Voltron, and Ninja Turtle fans,
Oh,
right?
that's fun.
So that's when I first realized, man, I'm up there, and people are very interested in the whole story of, how these toys were made, and they would bring their collection with them to get it signed. And I've never even imagined my work was that adored
Yeah.
for so many.
Like impactful. You actually had impact. Isn't that interesting? What I heard is like you didn't even do sculpture before. And I don't
Never.
know enough about the toy world. So like what do? They just hand you like a lump of clay and kind of like, hey, here's kind of what we're hoping you achieve? Like how does that work?
I mean, there's a whole process to it, and this was ancient times, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
when when we they had they would make an armature out of like pivoting what uh little mechanisms, and they would put wire for to get the form, and then yeah, literally put clay on it, and then get it to a shape and form that they liked, and we would make a mold out of it and cast it in wax, and they would do the details. So that's
Yeah.
how they were made back then. But today it's all 3D sculpting,
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Okay, and listen, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, I know that's a huge deal, huge following, and especially the fact that your impact to that was actually the creative side of actual toy making that really, like you said, brought it even more to the mainstream. Obviously,
Right.
it went from being a kind of a smaller and obscure comic book to like this huge action figure phenomenon, and of course, the franchise
Movies.
grew in so many other
They're
ways.
still making movies. I think there was one out recently,
Yeah,
not too
yeah.
long ago.
So that's still a powerful franchise. But I got to bug you about something. I also read somewhere that you also got to work on different Happy Meal toys as well. And
Oh yeah, man.
like I'm still a Happy Meal fan if I'm honest with you. You know what I mean? Like I'm ordering like a Happy Meal, and if I go to McDonald's or something, I'm like, I need a Happy Meal, and they're like, okay, for a boy or girl. I was like, what are you talking about? Look at me, I'm a boy. Come on. Like, I don't want to go into that issue on that. I identify as a he/him, guys.
Oh,
So,
geez, okay.
so, but anyway, so you even got to do some of that as well. So you did many other toys besides that.
Yeah, I mean, I helped design the whole lineup for a toy line called Exo Squad.
Mhm.
I worked on a bunch of Jim Lee's toys back then. We did a bunch of Happy Meals for McDonald's, Kids Club for Burger King. So we were all over the place, but the main thing was the Ninja Turtles. We were always
Okay.
there was no limit to how many we can design because that franchise just blew up when I was there.
Yeah.
They couldn't keep toys on the shelf.
I mean, those are still toys in like a Walmart toy section to this day, like
Yeah.
now.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's still a
Yeah.
section of action figures.
Well, you're
that
making it sound really old. We're not that old. Yeah, so
yeah,
it's
that's
good.
fair. That's
But
fair.
I was watching one of the podcasts, and you did a Michael Jordan one, and I thought that was great because that's like my favorite basketball player, and I was like, I need to get a hold of that.
Well,
turtle.
wait, I read that. I think you didn't like specifically get that kind of permission. You just like the number 23 on a guy. Is that kind of
Yeah.
how that went down?
I mean, it was supposed to be Michelangelo orange.
Yeah.
But when I drew it up, I love the number 23. I'm not going to
Yeah.
mention the 23.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm-
disregard that.
Yeah.
And
This
then
guy trying to get you in trouble.
I'll edit it out.
and I
There's no need to. It's fine.
put it in a red uniform, but I put some goggles on it to make it look like a Horace
Oh.
Grant.
Horace Grant.
Like many years later, like literally a few months ago, I went to Playmates again to say hello, and they were telling me, man, like, they're trying to pin it on me. Yeah, why did you put that number on there? I'm like, dude, I didn't manufacture it, you did.
It's your fault.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly. And by the way, it's just a number, and every other team has that number as well.
Much
Do you know
like
what I'm saying?
baseball.
So
Yeah, it could be anybody. That could be the Houston Rockets. You
Yep.
don't know.
that's exactly right.
Okay, disregard what I said.
Yeah. You know what's crazy though is, and we're going to start talking about this because I can't wait to get to Ancientz. More importantly, I can't. On top of that, I guess I can't wait to get to your faith journey. But what I kind of find interesting about you, not being like I wasn't necessarily like I had some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff. I did collect He-Man toys, G.I. Joe toys, right? But kind of that same era. But what the point of all of those toys and all these franchises is this is all what we call pop culture, right? And so you see a guy like you, we get to talk to a guy like you who genuinely, you are very heavily embedded, and I know that you're aware of this in like actual pop culture, like American pop culture, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, having designed some of those toys and getting to change how they look and the action figures. That makes you very much embedded in actual pop culture. And I think that's really neat for one. But when you're in that kind of world, how then do you how did you come to faith, even though like you're the pop culture guy and all of a sudden you got to have faith? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A lot of people separate those.
Where did that spiritual awakening come, as we've said in the bio? Because I'm curious.
Well, I've never separated them. I mean,
Right.
I always thought spirituality blended in everywhere, no
That's
matter
awesome.
where you're at. So yeah, I mean, I never even considered me somebody who was so in pop culture. It was just a job, something I enjoyed. I don't think I represented pop culture in any way. So
Yeah.
to me, my faith journey, had nothing to do with it, but it just started. I am who I am, and I have a faith journey, right? There's no
Yeah.
separation.
Hmm. I guess
Yeah.
to kind of further clarify on that one,
Yeah.
was there some kind of were you always raised as a Christian person of faith? Was that part of your initial background growing up, or did you like kind of come to faith in the middle of all this? Sort of where did this? I guess that's kind of really what I'm getting at. You're a guy in pop culture, like even though you kind of don't separate them, but where did this sort of turn into like, you know what? I'm going to use my pop culture background as part of my faith story. Like, where does that start? How does that start?
That's a good question. Growing up, yeah, I've known about God. My parents would just go in and out of different churches. Just it's more of
Hmm.
a social thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
being immigrants from Korea, there's people they can meet at the churches. I was just stuck there. I would go to Bible studies, but it was never a real thing, right? You hear about the stories of Noah and all that. It was just like a story. So until 12 years ago, when I was going through my divorce with three little kids, ages 4 to 9, right? Um,
Mm.
I never considered myself to be a man of God. I know of him, and I grew up.
Hmm.
My parents never prayed. Uh, I never seen them pray. So they're most agnostic. They're more agnostic than actual Christians, right? So it was there. I know of it. I've been to all the Bible studies. I've been to heard enough sermons, but I would not consider myself a real believer until I seriously started hitting rock bottom in my life, at least. It felt that way.
Yeah.
Taking antidepressant pills and anti-anxiety pills and going back into alcohol because I couldn't control what I was going through. And I
Hmm.
feel like when I hit rock bottom, that's when, I really felt God's presence. Interesting,
That
right?
Yeah, that's awesome. That kind of brings us to the creation through what Hebrews 11 of these toys that you got. And I'm gonna be honest, when I got your email and I was like, oh, that's awesome. I'm like, what kind of action figures can they be with David and Ruth and Deborah? And I'm like, I'm curious. And then when I looked at them, I'm like, wow, that's definitely an interesting take. And I want you to explain. And you can I can see them in the background. They're more robots. Um, they look so cool, and it took me a minute to wrap my head around it. But I'm like, that is how you get to a new generation. Those are the toys. I mean, I heard you talk about like Christian toys, and there's none out there really, is there? I mean, you said
Veggie
VeggieTales,
Tales. There's a few things like
but,
that.
but my
Well,
kids aren't getting VeggieTales.
that's perfect transition for what we just talked about, right? Because
Right.
yeah, I feel like I was embedded in pop culture. I know what sells, I know what's popular, right? But yet, when I was going through that transformation, actually encountering God for the first time in my life, and my life was changing drastically, right? It's
Hmm.
like suddenly I'm not living for the same things I used to live for, and it was a huge um, shift, right? A mind shift. And
Yeah.
during that time, this is why I feel like God really put this business, is he's the CEO of this company. Because during that dark time, I remember I used to pray. I learned how to pray, right? And then,
Yeah.
most people get, they get answers through prayer, they get healing. I get visions, like crazy visions of, I was
Yeah.
getting robot visions. And yeah, I grew up with Robotech. I grew up with all
Hmm.
that. And
Hmm.
that could have affected my visions, but
Sure. Yeah.
seeing like detailed descriptions of how these characters look. And that's when I looked at the Christmas tree. It was during Christmas, and I'm like, we're celebrating Jesus's birthday, and
Yeah.
yet, what can I get my toys out my get my kids toys that they would enjoy, right? So I
Mm.
looked it up on the internet. I saw VeggieTales. Yeah, I could. It did well for a while, but I
Yeah.
don't think kids will recognize it. They won't want it. And I looked at David and Goliath toys, and they were just like really badly made He-Man toys with the guy
Yeah.
throwing a rock. And
Yeah.
I know for sure, knowing pop culture, that those are things my kids would disown me for if I got
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, what is this?
so it was a 12-year-old thing. 12 years ago, my mind started churning, and I would get more clear images of what these should look like. Started painting it, doing everything. But to make your own toy company or your own figurine company takes a lot of money, and you have to be able to know what you're
Mm.
doing to compete in this really saturated industry, right?
Right.
So fast forward 12 years later, I just got remarried, Gloria Lee. You're probably getting with her.
Congratulations.
We're both, we were single parents, and 2 years before, when she discovered Ancientz,
Mhm.
she was blown away. Like, she's like,
Yeah.
why isn't there a company out there doing what you just described? I don't know. Maybe pop culture doesn't accept religious toys. Maybe pop
Mm.
culture doesn't affect anything dealing with the Bible. And, we wanted to just disrupt that status quo that we think is out there and come in powerfully with things that, yeah, we would initially be targeting believers,
Yep.
but they're so cool, it'll bleed out into every society.
Everything. It's interesting because I kind of want to go back on the very beginning of sort of your conversation on the breakthrough, where you said you were at such a low place, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, of course, but you're almost rock bottom, I guess, in your soul. It's a place of hurt. Something we talk about a lot on this show is like, dude, anxiety and depression, things like this. These are not sins. These are symptoms of a bigger issue, right? And the solution is always found in genuine faith in Christ. Like how you said, you all of a sudden really started to have this real relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as you probably kind of, I guess, had that vision or that thinking through that relationship, like, wow, God is very real in my life. Now here you are, this artistic, talented pop culture guy that you're like, okay, I'm going to get closer to God. And yet God kind of gives you that because you've got a natural talent that's God given, but also you enhance it as you grow. And next thing you know, you're like, how can I better impact like my own kids? And sort of what I'm hearing is it's kind of cool because we live in dark times, and you're like, how do we kind of impact these dark times from this place where I can feel that I can really be healed, like a real God that's really with me, not just going to church here and there. Does that make sense what I'm saying to you? Because it seems like the right time for something like this now.
Yeah, toys like that can like bring light into a kid's life. I mean, you start reading, if they get the story, they understand the toy, the person behind the toy, the character. I mean, and then you read about it in the Bible, you're seeing the good in humanity, and also, bringing Bible facts to it as well. So yeah,
I just find it amazing. You're talking something 12 years ago, kind of a breakthrough in a vision that is so applicable in the dark times we have even now, because we have listeners, by the way, who let us know, like, hey, I'm in a really dark, deep place, whatever, a place of depression. And so the fact that you were in a place like that, but this is part of the creative outlet of your spirituality, how much more applicable do we think this is today to just have some more faith-based stuff?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like, whatever we do spiritually, or even like you said, me being in pop culture, me being in business, we all have a mission.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this happens to be my mission. And it just fell on my lap through prayer and through what I was going. And, my mission is, no matter, even if I was a rock star out there everywhere, and if it's my mission to, I think our mission is to show the truth, right? That God is real. And if I could use this platform to reach people, starting with believers who already know it's true, right? To make it such a cool item that people who don't know it's true will pick it up, and they'll want it, and they'll eventually see this is David. You see David with Hebrew. There.
It's funny. I think from your side, I want to apologize to any YouTube watchers of
I can
this.
see it good now.
Is that we're getting a lot of freeze on your end.
Oh,
and it's sort of pixelating on our end. It seems clear, but every once in a while, that thing looks cool.
No, we're getting it though.
Light up. The spirits are coming from here, and it has a little jetpack in the back.
Yeah, see,
this is the large one.
That is awesome,
and that's what resonates with that generation that likes the action figures, and I feel like it's awesome.
What's funny is, like, what is your thinking on like a target audience, if you will?
Yeah.
What are your thinking on that with these?
That's like the new fad thing.
Well, this is not just what you see here. We have a broad picture where we eventually want to land years later. Mm-hmm. We want to make this an IP that is recognized everywhere, like the Turtles, right?
Yep.
But we want to start with this is something we could control because these are limited edition collectible art toys. You call it art toys
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
There's companies out there doing art toys. They're not cheap. They could be very expensive. Bear Bricks,
Yeah.
Halls. You have Kid Robots out there. We're trying to get into that. Labubu right now. Have you
Yeah.
heard of it?
Yeah, I just heard of that myself recently. Never even heard of that before.
So we're trying
That's what that
to
one-
get into that market, but these are biblical figures. This is Joshua. And then when you
Wow.
put your phone next to it, we want to be able to bring up their Bible verse.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
So yeah, there's a hidden, you can call it hidden messages, but it's not really hidden. We're gonna have the actual verse on the part of this keychain, right? So our goal is to get the Bible stories out there, and these Bible stories to me are more powerful than a lot of these stories out there about Superman with superpowers or Spider-Man with his superpower. These are characters in the Bible that didn't have any power, right?
Right.
But they're going to defeat
Amen.
the unthinkable through faith, right?
Yeah.
So can you imagine this is a new type of hero? I mean, these guys, they're weak and their strength is God.
It's crazy because that's part of what you put, when we were reading about you, is that it was from Hebrews chapter 11, where the very first verse basically talks about those. I've always known Hebrews chapter 11 as the chapter of the heroes of faith, right? It's a chapter of faith, the heroes of faith. And it is cool because one of the very first verses, obviously that's where you got it from, right? Talks about the ancients.
Right.
The ancients. And then exactly what you said. They were superheroes because of their faith in a very real God. And I think that's a fascinating. Is that kind of were you just doing a Bible study and that led to that? Like, how did you get to this name and how did you get to that place of Hebrews
That's a
11?
cool name. I love it.
That's a funny story because 12 years ago when I first thought of it, it was going to be called the Prophets with the Z. And
Okay.
when we started to take this seriously, we tried to do the whole the trademark thing, and we couldn't get Prophets. There's no way we could have even considered it. So,
Yep.
when you come out with a name, it's hard, man. It's like naming your kid, right?
It's going to last forever.
Yeah, so it's a very important part, and it causes a lot of stress, right? So we prayed about it. My wife Gloria was watching a Tim Keller sermon, and he was talking about 11, the Ancientz, and she thought it was a great idea.
Yeah.
There's a church that we go to, which is about 3 minutes away. That's our home church now. They have a morning prayer service every morning at 6 a.m. Right?
Okay. Wow.
We've been going. We've been praying for Ancientz. We've been praying for our friends and family and all this other stuff. That's not enough time. We have so much to pray for.
Right.
But then, we've been going there for like 4 or 5 months, and we went there to actually use the space to shoot our Kickstarter video for Ancientz. And we already decided on Ancientz. I'm like, is this going to be good? We need confirmation. And there's a poster in front of the church that was there ever since we got there. And we didn't really carefully look at it, but when we looked at it, it had Hebrews 11, chapter 1 to 2. So this was like 4 months after we decided on Ancientz, we're wondering if God is really blessing us with this name or did we make a mistake? And that was confirmation enough. And I saw that, man, we got goosebumps.
Oh, yeah. That actually almost gives me goosebumps. Yeah, that's amazing, right? There's powerful thinking, That's pretty amazing.
So I guess the question is, like, in the faith community, are you getting any feedback from them as far as like churches and anybody in general?
All love. They absolutely
awesome.
love.
Yeah.
I mean, when we first started this, we were worried that our biggest critics would be from the evangelical Christians who say you cannot represent David in that way. And that's one of the things that wanted me to do something like this, to make it cool.
Yeah.
To make the Bible so cool, and in a way that today's pop culture, the young people, or even our age wants to collect, well, it's not something they're going to put on the wall and be embarrassed about. Some character wearing a loincloth throwing a rock. No, I want Robotech and Pokemon, man. I want to mix all that up.
You know what's so funny, dude? Like, this reminds me, think of all this, because I'm that guy too. Here I am. I'm a pastor of a church, right? I wasn't my original vocation. I guess I'm kind of a bivocational pastor, if you will, now. But I'm going to be honest with you. come Halloween, we have Halloween coming up, right? And believe me, I understand the pagan roots and all this other stuff, but I'm the guy who kind of makes fun of our LDS friends or a lot of these Christian churches that have the Harvest Festival, but they only allow the biblical character outfits. And so you see a bunch of shepherds and Virgin Marys walking around. And it's kind of almost, now look, we shouldn't be, there's no shame in that, but you kind of make fun of it to your point, because it's like, okay, you got your crook, you know what I mean? You're like, it's cute and everything, but you're trying to kind of give the kids an option here. And this isn't, it's kind of not a cool option when you're a little kid, right? These 10 and 11 and 12-year-olds, and you're like, you're going to dress like a shepherd. It's going to be awesome. No, you can't be Spider-Man or whatever. And so to me, this sort of kind of flows into that same type of thinking. Guys, we can be normal. We don't have to be weird. We know who Christ is. We know what the Bible is. We don't want to be a bunch of heathens. That we can honor these heroes almost like a historical fiction. Like the history is real. The people are real. But we can also kind of use our imagination as kids and say, man, I wonder what they were doing, what wasn't recorded in the Bible, kind of a thing. Or if we live this way, what other possibilities there are. Does that sort of make sense? I feel like that's the direction you're going.
I mean, look, I grew up around a lot of ultra-conservative Christians. I'm not one of them, just simply because of who I am, what I do. But I do believe the power of the Bible, the power of prayer. That's what I believe in. My kids they go out and dress up however they want in Halloween, and they listen to the music they like. I feel like the more I prevent them, the more they're gonna want it.
We're against it.
Yeah, we've had this conversation. We typically would agree with you on most of that for sure. You know what I mean? Because
exactly.
You know.
And Jesus spent his time with the prostitutes.
He went out of his way. That's what I always said. He went out of his way. He'll meet you right where you're at. He may not condone the sin you're in, but he very often didn't. Those people who were just broken and wanting to hear from him, he didn't condemn them, but he would. Hey, I don't condone what you got going on, but I'm not going to condemn you, man. Let's break bread and let me get you know you. You know what I mean? And that's how we're supposed to be as believers. Yeah, I agree with you on that kind of stuff.
And then we did a big opening at Comic-Con in July 23rd to 26th. And man, I've been going there forever. I never knew there was a Christian comic society there. They even have Sunday worship on Sundays.
Are you serious? I didn't know that.
Booths over there. I mean, when you look at Comic-Con, the majority is all about evil dead or the dead coming, the crypt. And then here we are. There's a whole Christian group that love comics, that are creators, that have backgrounds like me. And when we met them, they stormed our booth. We got a lot of prayer. They stopped us right in the middle of Comic-Con and prayed for us. One of the pastors that was there, first time there, he was wearing a X-Men cosplay. I didn't know he was a pastor, but I told him.
Yeah, John does that quite often.
Yeah.
So I told him what all this was about, and then I think the Sunday after it was over, in his church, he did a whole segment on the Ancientz, about me.
Wow!
What amazing faith! And I was just so touched by it. They had me speak at one of their panels at Comic-Con, and they're still communicating with me. They invited me to an Alpha Omega convention, which was this past Saturday. It's just all love from the faith community. And I know for sure every one of them just believes in our project.
What I love about it is we've had this conversation, Alan, in a different world. When we talk about social media, whether it's, whatever you name the social media platform that's on every kid's phone. And we have said, like, we've, as Christians, I guess, quote unquote, have sort of historically stayed out away from or outside of those platforms. But that's where the spiritual warfare is happening. You jumping into the Comic-Con stuff, into this world, into the toy art or art toy world. That's the art toys. That's exactly what we're talking about. Is we need Christians willing to step into the battleground where the battleground is. Let's bring Christ, hope, and truth into those forums, and that's exactly what you're doing, man. I love it.
And real quick, it's the times are changing, and I think right now it is a perfect time for a toy like this, because I feel like there's a shift in our culture. There's a shift in Christianity where people are coming back to it, and if we have something like this, that they can bring their kids to and preach, show the Bible a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Just like going to I've gone to a church where there's like a rock band doing worship music, and some people don't like it, but it brings youth, it brings the new generation in because they like that kind of music, and whatever it takes. And I think it's a perfect time for these toys and a perfect time, and I'm grateful that you're doing it. So thank you.
Yeah,
Likewise.
I just watched the Jesus Revolution movie once again for a second time. That was it. I mean, people are just I don't like that old church. They're sitting there so stiff and they judge others. And there's a limit, obviously. Like I go out and do cocaine to kids or whatever like that.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Hey, by the way, can we quote you? That's going to be the quote we're going to take out of context. Okay, keep going.
I said croquet for kids. No, but there's always a limit, right? So I think we're in a space that needs this. That I think I'm really looking forward to kids wearing Ancientz during Halloween. I want just people to like us so much that you don't have to be a believer, but you become a fan of David. And they want to find out more about David. They'll look in scripture, they'll ask their parents, and they want to collect them all. They want to read all their stories.
Yeah, I want to collect them too. A question I have is where does it go from here? Are you thinking like comic books, graphic novels, video games, or is there a step that you're taking, like, because like I was talking to John earlier about the toys and where your next step would be, and I was thinking about The Chosen. The show The Chosen was funded by people to be put on the air first, and now it's just blown up and it's in movie theaters. So where do you go from here with the toys after this step?
Well, Lauren and I have pretty much spent the majority of the money that we started with doing comic.
I'm sure.
Developing. So we're in the middle of fundraising. Kickstarter, we don't expect much out of it, just to get eyeballs so people could see what it is. But it's not the right platform because our product, it's a little more pricey for what it is. It's not a usable mechanism of any kind. So we're in the middle of fundraising. So if you know anybody, if you know Scotty Scheffler, please introduce me. I'll do an ancient style for him. I'm talking about I need to meet the right people. I know God will put us in touch with the right people that can help us fund this project. And what we want to do is just get the art toys and like Labubu's and the bigger ones made. It costs a lot of money. We have a lot of characters. If it was just one character, no problem. But we have 8 large and 8 small. So we're praying for it. We're already have some meetings, and we'll start with that, and hopefully get a license to meet with the company that can do animation for Netflix, a movie maybe, video games for sure, merchandise, and our goal would be making a deal with a toy company that can get it to, in the price point and manufactured to get it to all the kids in the world. But we understand that there is a limitation because they are Christian faith-based toys that a lot of toy companies won't touch it. We're praying that a company will come through, or we'll have to build one.
Yeah,
that's a bad idea either.
I mean, to Alan's point, it's interesting, right? We several weeks ago now, by the time this episode is on as well, but obviously tragic things, the assassination of Charlie Kirk in a very public space. But you saw one of the most amazing, if you watch the funeral service, his memorial service, going back to The Chosen, going back to the movie theaters, this before Charlie Kirk's assassination, you do see God on the move. You see more pop culture, movie producers, television producers that are of faith, people who are Christians who are putting this out. So from my perspective, Quigley, I feel like your timing is almost spot on. Like, believe me when I tell you, we will be praying for you and praying for this project, because I really feel like your timing is sort of right in sort of an interesting sweet spot, like kind of catching the wave to surf, right? And the prayer is that it actually really does what you're hoping it does, which introduce kids to like biblical characters and a curiosity of who are these characters and what does this mean, right? A greater audience than just Christian kids. I like the Christian option, but I want a greater audience.
Can I give you a little spoiler, I guess?
Yeah.
We're working on a little 5-page comic book treatment so we can give it to the Kickstarter pledge people. But it's going to be a small comic, like a little webtoon, showing our origin story, how all this started. So, we're looking to meet the right writers, to animators, because I'm not a writer. I have the origin story. I'm writing it out, but it's so far pretty cool and how it all started. And then one of the parts in there is where in Washington, D.C., you have the right and the left
Mhm.
protesting, arguing for gender issues and the border security, and they're at each other's throats. And an explosion happens. That's when Goliath comes. And then what happens after that is, they scatter. But one of the things is, man, they can't fight against the sides anymore. Now you have to unite and fight
Yeah.
holy battle. And the undertone is, man, the Bible stories are actually really true. These
Yeah.
are actual,
Right.
actual spirits from the Bible. And people
Yeah.
are just to open their eyes that all this that they're fighting about doesn't really matter.
Doesn't really matter.
Dude, I love it. I love that. Thank you for that spoiler on that one because that's amazing. No, I love it. What a great thought.
Well, this is recorded, so if you guys steal that, I have
Exactly. No, we're not creative enough or intelligent enough to figure that out.
No.
But it is yours. It belongs to you, and it belongs to Ancientz. But what an amazing story! I love the thought.
Yeah.
And by the way, like you just said, it's a story that actually already exists. So all of us in faith-based projects are plagiarizing the truth of the Bible in order to share a greater story, right? And sort of
Yeah.
address it or make it relevant to our kids and the current pop culture. That's really sounds to me like the entire thinking behind all of this. How do we show that the Bible is very relevant today? It's relevant in pop culture.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the whole idea is that that's actually the spirit of David, who's resurrected through some technology, is now operating the robots. You know how Robotech is run by humans and everything is human driven. These are
Yeah.
actually spirit driven. So
Wow.
we're fighting war here.
Okay, that's cool. See, that's kind of that historical fiction thing, right? Where it's like these are genuine historical people. The fictional story is sort of the addressing of the Ancient's world that they're actually conducting business in or operating in, right? Basically.
Yeah.
And it's almost like we need them to come back now and help with what we got going on.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, how close are we? I suppose we'll probably wrap up.
Yeah.
Any other? So, okay, you got any websites? Other ways we can try to share this, get involved? We can get some shorts out and do whatever we can to try to get this thing launched. What do we need? Where do they need to go?
Very simple. If you go to ancientz.com, that's it with the Z, not an S. Ancientz. Everything sounds cooler with the Z, right?
Yeah.
Ancientz.com has our social media, Instagram. Instagram is Ancientz with the Z again. It's Ancientz_official. Please follow us. You keep tabs on what's happening. I'm working on Moses and Pharaoh and Sephora now, and we're gonna work on all. There's so many characters. This might be bigger than Pokemon, actually. So
I mean, it's huge. The potential is huge. With people don't know the Bible, if they don't know it, there are so many like blow your mind, amazing highs and lows, and you know what I mean. And so, yeah, your potential is amazing. It really is.
yeah, please pray for us, and
We will.
those in the audience who can help, please contact us, Instagram, and let us know. We need funding. We need a lot of suggestions. We need prayer.
Awesome.
That sounds absolutely awesome, and thank you. And in a lot of our show, we do address like individuals out there. A lot of mostly guys listen to us, although it's sort of all over the place. But we really do. I love. I just want to remind these listeners again that here's a guy who several years ago sort of was in like a dark place. Things weren't perfect, right? Family falling apart. How do I struggle? How do I juggle all these things? And yet you tapped into your faith, and you know God is very real, and you're walking in your life, and now you're just using your creativity to glorify God and to honestly just to keep moving forward. Keep moving forward because God's got you. And whatever the project is, right? God's got you, man. And so I think this is an amazing story of that. So it's sort of a story of redemption for you.
Yep.
So
Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much.
Quigley, it was awesome to meet you. I would love to have you on again for an update with a better connection. We have kind of a bad internet connection with you for some reason. And so I think the audio will be good. Some of the video might not be great. I don't know.
Well, maybe I'll have to come into the studio. I'll go to
That'd be
Vegas.
great.
That would be amazing when
Yeah,
you're in
especially
Vegas
if
or
you're coming
something.
out.
Yeah. So,
It'll
all
be
right.
perfect. Yeah, let us know. Yeah, I
Hey.
think you got my number. Come on out. All
Very
right.
good to meet you. Ancientz. You guys, ancientz.com. Check it out, please. Seriously.
In the age of AI, they are the ancients. Some people find their voice in words. I found mine in drawings. I'm Howard Chang, also known as Quiggly. Back in the day, I designed figurines for a certain group of green heroes in a half shell.
When we started creating the toys, we wanted the best creative in action figures. The Varner Group with Steve, Eddie, and Howard, I don't think anybody held a candle to what Howard and the guys did with their designs.
He was the best designer we had ever hired.
Steve and I tried to keep him with us, but he wanted to expand and grow and do different things.
Honestly, I had no idea the impact my designs had until I went to Comic-Con in 2023. That's where I met fans who grew up with the toys I helped create, telling me how those characters shaped their childhoods. That moment lit a fire in me that I haven't felt in decades. One day during prayer, I had a vision. Supernatural AI robots, forged with the spirit of ancient heroes, returning not to conquer, but to guide humanity out of the darkness. And my first thought was, okay, God, that's new. It inspired me to sketch for the first time in decades. And the more I drew, the more it all started to make sense. And that's how Ancientz was born. Ancientz is a premium figurine line inspired by legendary biblical figures who were resurrected in the near future in a world devastated by disaster and dominated by AI machines. Their fight is more than survival. It's a call to reignite hope, to forge a new destiny in humanity's darkest hour.
Look at the state that the world is in right now. It needs something like this.
Turtles was the #1 selling toy in 1990, and it wouldn't have been the same without Howard's contribution.
Ancientz is more than my return to toy design. It's a personal mission to build something extraordinary. We're launching our first series with the male legends, Noah, Joshua, Gideon, and David, the ultimate icons of courage and faith. And for the female legends, we're launching with Rahab and Deborah. Powerful, fearless, and ready to change the game. And for the villains, we have Sisera and Goliath.
Instead of good guys going after bad guys and doing evil things to them, it's going to be the prophets. And this is like, what?
And these figurines are just the beginning. They're the new cornerstone of an expansive new multiverse that will unfold across comics, games, and films, just like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles did before. I'd be honored to have your support. Please join us and help shape the future of the Ancientz universe.
Every